just overcast, so it's
All
all
right,
blue.
I'm going live now.
Oh, that's better. Much better.
All right, I'm going live now.
I think we're live, Mike.
Good e-reader live.
You, sir, tilt your camera up a little bit because you need to create a little bit more headspace. There you go. That might be a little too much. A little bit down there, man. Perfect. So, Mike, how's it going? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Another day, another dollar. What are we doing today, sir?
Well, we're going to talk about some of the devices in our review labs that we're going to be reviewing like in the next like week or so. We're talking about the possibility of Amazon or Kobo doing a color e-reader this year,
Yes.
and some of the technologies that they're going to be employing to make this happen. Talking about the Boyu P10, which we
Yes.
recently did an unboxing, and I think a review of it is coming soon, and a whole lot more. So,
Yes.
so
So let's
what's
start
new?
it off with the.
Well,
Oh.
while people filter in, let's just shoot the
Oh,
breeze.
okay. Sure. Yeah, I am here and ready to roll. I'm looking on YouTube right now, and I can't seem to see our live video anywhere. There it is. Never mind, found it. Cool. Yeah. We are letting people pile in here. We're having some people say hello, hello, and looks like we have V Al Udal and Adrian has joined us yet again for another week. So hello, everyone. So yeah, sunny day here. A little bit overcast. We're getting a little blue hue out the window today, so that's why it's looking a little like you know I don't know what that light's called. Kind of tungsteny today. So I see you got your boxes out of the way there, Mike. What's been going on?
Yeah, like I was gonna move out at like the beginning of January, so everything was like literally packed up, and then that place kind of like fell through. It was just too big for me, so I basically just like moved all my boxes into like my second bedroom. So
Nice.
I don't need like I don't need boxes cluttering up like my living room area. So I just put a few pieces of art up just for me and just to have a little bit of eye candy for Goody Reader Live. So
Eye candy.
yeah, so basically just hung a few pieces of art like around, and yeah, just waiting to see like where I'm gonna move to, or if the possibility is to like buy the place I'm in now. So
Nice.
we'll see how that goes.
Still on the hunt, I see, huh?
Yeah, man. The
Cool.
wild hunt never stops.
Yeah, if you guys are just joining us, if you're unsure, we operate primarily out of Vancouver, BC, and Michael spearheads the Vancouver and Canada operations. Vancouver has some of the most, if not the most expensive real estate in the world. Maybe Hong Kong, Singapore houses are a little bit more expensive, but in terms of real estate, Vancouver's right up there with San Francisco Bay Area. Getting a one
Sydney,
bedroom. Sydney, Australia, yeah.
the UK,
Although
like London.
pound for pound, you get paid a lot more in Sydney. Although your rent slash mortgage payments, I believe, are due every 2 weeks, something like that. I've had a bunch of friends move to Australia temporarily, and they said, sure, they're getting $21 working at Starbucks, but they pay, $1,800 every 2 weeks for rent. So it's like it balances out. But either way, splitting hairs, Vancouver is a very expensive place to live. One bedroom places can run you $2,300. I know that you were looking at some places, Mike, that were 3 bedrooms in Van, and they were like $5,200 or about $4,600 USD. So it's pretty expensive. It's pretty high up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, in retrospect, property value just continues to skyrocket like
That's it.
every year.
That's
So I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
real estate's like the safest investment. Like, you could have just invested in like the Tesla stock when it split, and like, you know, it went up like what, like 900% like in the last like
Yeah, I think
month.
he's like the the richest man in the world, just spiked, and now he's just like surpassed everyone. Well,
Yeah, so I
oh
mean,
well.
if you're investing in it, there's certain things that you can invest in that like will make you more money than real estate. But you know, if you don't have, if investing isn't like your first job, you know, you're really not going to make a ton of money through it, because like
Yeah,
you just don't have the capital to like spend $100,000 and take
that's
like a
right.
risk, you know. Whereas like property, you can like invest in it and then 4 years later sell it for like a $200,000
Oh,
profit.
I've known people that moved into the Burnaby area, which is right beside Vancouver. They bought in at I don't know, 290K, and a couple years later, just like you said, their place is worth like 490. So it's like you've made, of course it doesn't matter unless you actually sell the place and liquidate it, but you've made 200 grand in your pocket. You're making 100 grand appreciation per year every year. And places like Adrian says, some places based on where you are, houses, townhouses, apartments, they may go up and down, but in the end it's always going up. I mean, basically everyone I know that's bought in has appreciated regardless, like across the board. So you may see some dips, but it's just going to go up. And we get a lot of foreign investors and stuff as well, people burying their money in Vancouver. I mean, it's a it's like a guaranteed you know appreciating asset. So yeah, it's really, if you got the money, go for it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people from different countries buy property here and then they have no intention of ever actually living in the property. So I think Vancouver, BC, the lower mainland has like a sort of empty home tax law now, where like
Yeah.
they pay, you have to pay like a certain percentage of your house's like total, like, you know, how much it is worth, and you have to pay like an empty homes tax. So that's sort of like to encourage people to actually like throw renters in there, because you know, it's the reason why rent's so high is just because like there's more people looking for a place than there's actually places
That's
available.
right. That's right. Supply and demand. We're getting a bunch of people asking about the things we're talking about now. We've had several people file in and are now watching. So let's kick it off with the Boyu P10. This has been the talk of the town, Mike. They are back. I mean, Boyu's never been gone, but for 2020, they didn't release anything. Nothing. Until the very tail end, they released the P6. And it shocked everyone because they've gone into this weird simplistic design now, and everything's very organized and easy grid access, and it's just big bubbly icons. Now, something very interesting, Mike, and my lab just actually figured it out over here. They're not using Wacom, but the pens aren't capacitive either, and I'm going to confuse you. So basically what that means is this is the only other reader and brand, just like Sony, that's using their own EMR, and EMR stands for electromagnetic resonance. Basically means like a Wacom pen. They're not using Wacom, and Wacom pens will not work on this device. They don't do anything. This is the remarkable pen. It works on everything from Supernote to Boyu to Onyx, everything. They're not using Wacom. It doesn't work on this device, but their pen does. So when you actually go to Notepad, and for people that are in the note-taking world, this is extremely interesting. If you go to Notepad and you try drawing with a Wacom pen, it does nothing. If you try with their pen, you can take notes. Now, people might be saying, oh, it's just capacitive. Well, no, because my finger doesn't take notes. So it's not actually using the capacitive layer. We've further went into a little bit of a deep dive. One of the guys here says, grab an active digitizer. This is an active digitizer. You turn it on, it glows blue, and this digitizer can now be used on a phone. But if you turn it off, it no longer works on the phone. We then tried the Boyu pen on the phone. It doesn't work. So that means that these guys, like Sony, are the only guys using their own brand of Wacom, essentially. Super interesting for people that find it interesting. That's actually like a little bit of a revelation, man, because everyone uses Wacom.
So is
That's
that pen like, you is that's not the pen that's glowing, is it?
No, this is the regular pen. This glowing pen is something that'll work on anything. This
So
simulates your
what is
fingertip.
that?
No, this is just an active digitizer that we use here for testing purposes. It doesn't actually work on the Boyu. So the Boyu P10 is actually not using Wacom, and it's not using capacitive. It's it's using its own thing. It's pretty crazy, man.
Okay,
Honestly,
so
it's yeah,
for a lot of people that are unfamiliar with the Boyu P6 and the
yeah,
P10R, they're basically e-readers.
that's right.
Boyu traditionally has done digital note-taking devices. Early on in the company's life cycle, they pretty well just did e-readers, and they partnered with like a few companies to like tap into their ecosystem and stuff. But it really wasn't until about 2019 that they started releasing products that were for a non-Chinese audience. So
That's right.
they were running Android where anybody could use them in any country. They in their 2019 lineup and early on into 2020 were basically digital note-taking devices. So more expensive, $300-400 plus. Wacom pens, you could read ebooks, but mostly it was geared towards like to-do lists, drawing, and everything like that. So for 2021, Boyu is focusing on just e-readers.
That's
So
right.
they have the P6, which is like what is it, 6 inches?
6 inch, and it's not 6.8 or anything else. It's actually 6. And the P10, which we thought was 10.3, they confirmed. They're like, no, no, no. This is built from the ground up. This is 10. Like we built this. It's not a 10.3. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
because it's just 10 inches and not 10.3 inches, the resolution is a little bit better. If they use 10.3, the resolution would be around like 193 ppi. But
yeah,
because they're using a 10-inch screen, they're using 200 ppi. So that's actually not too bad because most large screen displays in the 10-inch realm are sub 200. So because they never went with the 10.3, you're actually getting more crisp fonts and
that's
resolution when you're
right.
actually reading books. So how do you read books? Well, they have a stock like app that you could use to read books that are preloaded on the device, or you can sideload in your own books like Mobi, EPUB, doc, text files, things like that. But Boyu has Google Play built into it, so you can actually
Yes.
install the Kindle app, you can install the Kobo app, you can overdrive Libby. It's running Android 8.1, so it is compatible with probably the vast majority of like apps out there. So for in terms of like manga, newspapers, and magazines, apps, and line webtoons and things like that, you'll be able to install all of those apps because the minimum requirement from Android are like 6 for those types of apps. So yeah, I mean, we haven't actually done a review of the P10 yet. We've just done like an unboxing. So Peter, when can we expect like a full YouTube review of the P10?
We actually just discovered this revelation about this pen last night when we were doing some testing. We've been doing some other stuff, so that this is a big thing because, as Mike says, this isn't $579 USD. You know what I mean? This is the cheapest 10.3 10-inch on the market, kind of leaps and bounds above the only other 10-inch, which essentially is the InkPad X. But this one has its own proprietary note taking, and that's the biggest thing. And when we found that out here, we were just kind of like, and for us, this is big because we're e-reader geeks, right? So when we found that out, we're like, whoa! And we tried all these pens, and we're like, grab the active digitizer, try it with your finger. It was the craziest thing because no company since 2014 has employed their own note taking layer. Only Sony has. They're the only guys. Everyone else uses Wacom, which basically means that if you have a Wacom pen, it'll work on a Samsung Galaxy, Lenovo, HP Touchpad, Remarkable, Boyu, Supernote, everything. This is just a one and all. Boyu is the only guy to do it on their own. They have Wacom devices in their lineup. They have the Alita, the Muses, the Aries, the uh yeah, those ones. That was it. The Mars actually doesn't do note taking. This one, when we were getting the specs, remember, Mike, we received that promo package. They were like, no note taking, no Wacom layer, and we're like, you say no Wacom layer, but you show a pen on your box. So what's that all about? So we tested it. It's absolutely crazy. Like that's crazy. And it's pretty fast too. It does not register tilt as someone has asked. It doesn't do tilt or shading, but its latency is incredible. So we actually are going to ask them what they're using. But so far, nothing in our studio, nothing, the Sony pens, nothing else actually works on this except their pen. So this could be a new breed of EMR, which again is the communication between a batteryless pen and the device itself. So that's called EMR, electromagnetic resonance. Anyways, yeah, that's really cool. To answer your question, Mike, it is next on the docket because the P10 is incredibly hot topic right now in the world of e-readers because it's hundreds of dollars less than competition and it does more, if not the same thing. And it
Yeah.
looks fantastic. They had an overhaul. They have this nice like brushed blue textured aluminum. It's got like speakers on it, USB-C. It's got a microphone on it. It's got Torx screws so you could service your device. This thing's packing a huge punch for $300, man. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so it's like around 329 or so on the Good e-Reader store. It comes with the stylus and a case. So you'll be able to get like the P10 and all the accessories for
Right.
about like 339 or so. And that's USD. So you can order this like from our store, goodereader.com/shop, and you'll be able to, at least like check it out. Yeah, so sometime this week, like next week, we'll probably do like a P10 review. So
Absolutely.
you could expect, in addition to the unboxing that we published last week, a written review, all sorts of pictures, everything that you can and cannot do with the device. So you can really kind of get a sense of it. The P6 review is on our website. So basically everything that the P6 does, it's the P10 does. It's just like a bit bigger of a screen. So you can kind of get a sense on what the P10 brings to the table by reading our P6 review or watching the P6 video. So you can check that out. So in terms of other new devices, we actually have the Hisense A7 in our review
Oh,
labs.
yeah, that's a nice one. Big phone, huge phone, man. Like, bigger than a standard flagship smartphone. And we just wrapped our unboxing, so I think the guys are going to be uploading that after this is done. So we obviously don't want to do YouTube uploads while we're doing this to cannibalize what we're doing. So that's going to come up really soon. Yeah, man. Ace. Hisense, for you guys that don't know, Hisense has been killing it. 2019, 2020 was the year of Hisense for phones. They hold nothing back. They're just like, this is Hisense. We're going to do color. They released 2 color devices. We're going to do color next year. They're going to release some color devices.
And when you say color, you're talking about color e-ink, right?
Color e-ink, you're right. Sorry, not the phones, because Hisense does make other consumer electronics. They make TVs, they make hi-fi systems, they make DVD players, Blu-ray players, they make refrigerators, they make a lot of stuff. In the past couple of years, they've actually been dipping their toes into e-ink phones, and they've been destroying it. There's vendors out there, including us, that have gone through 500-600 units just because of the niche nature of it and the fact that it's a capable phone. The A5 Pro CC, I'm not gonna lie, and I can't say that it'll replace your main smartphone, but I do know a handful of people that Michael and I talked to that they're like, yeah, man, I'm using the A5 Pro CC as my smartphone because I can turn on A2 mode, I can watch YouTube videos, I can browse Instagram, I can go on Chrome. What else am I doing other than that? So these phones are capable, and this new wave of 5G smartphones are that much more. They have like high-end cameras, they got high-end audio on board. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so this for those of you that are on like don't really know what the new Hisense phone is. Most Hisense e-ink phones, whether they're color or black and white, have been around 5.84 inches. So that's been the size of the screen.
Why don't we do a
The
screen share, Mike?
uh
Yeah, let's do
okay.
a screen share of it. Actually, let's
Of
show
what?
people what the A5, the A7. Let's show people what we're talking about because this is good stuff. This just came out like a couple days ago. And I believe Michael and his team finished some coverage on like announcements and stuff like that. The respective brands always send us these packages, either in SD card form, email form, etc. Things we're supposed to talk about, things we're supposed to touch on, and I think we have an article there that has been compiled that should shed some light on the situation.
Yeah, so other Hisense phones have been like 5 inches. This is around like 6.8 inches. And so yeah, it's looking good, like 5G, 6.7 6.7 inches. Yeah, it's looking good. Like you can do a lot sort of like with it. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have Google Play. It has a Hisense store. You could sideload in like your own apps, but um, it's looking like it does like a lot. USB-C, like almost a 5,000 milliamp battery, um, quad core processor, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage. It's looking good.
Yeah, and hey, when you screen share, I hope everyone looks at the screen. I don't think it shows us, does it, Mike?
Yeah,
Oh, it
sometimes.
does. Okay, because I just ran off. I wanted to go get it. I got it right here. Look how jumbo this thing is. Look how jumbo this thing is, man. Look, I have a big hand, and that's a huge phone. I'm gonna put it next to my phone. This is a big phone. This is a big phone, and this is a gigantic slate. Look at that. It just gets destroyed.
Yeah, so
Dude.
Hisense is marketing this as like a phone, but also an e-reader.
Oh,
So
easy. This thing's like the size of a Kindle.
yeah, so they're basically hoping that by buying this, you're not gonna like buy a new e-reader or buy an e-reader to begin with, because
Yeah.
this is, everyone carries their phone in their pocket. So this is like a hybrid phone, like a phone and a large enough screen that you could read ebooks without, the benefits with the e-ink is that it doesn't create eye strain. It's like the
None.
closest that you can get to reading real paper. So yeah, we're bullish on this. We don't even have an unboxing of it yet, but it should be
No,
going up.
that's they're writing a little script for me to what happens is the background, just to give you a little insight of what happens. Mike gets all the info, like how does it work, what we're supposed to talk about, etc. He relays to the team that we do production here in Japan, and then they say, okay, Peter, we're just like a couple things you got to talk about, and then I go on camera, and then either it's my hands or someone else's hands. I do a voiceover, and then the guys do some b-roll, edit it up, and upload it. But there's been some other things on the docket, so no, man, this is really cool. This is really, really nice. And this one is not the color version, so I can't quite say if it's going to replace your phone, but it sure is capable. This thing's really nice, and just on like first impressions, I mean, it's so premium. It's made out of metal. It has like here, let's get some light on situation. It's got like a fingerprint sensor. You just go like boop, and it just opens right up. It has a dedicated e-ink button that does a whole bunch of stuff related to e-ink based on where you are on the phone. It is honestly not too much of a night and day difference from the previous gens of, say, the A5, the A5 Pro, but it's huge and it's really been upgraded. And this thing just feels like it's a high-end phone. It's made out of like a block of aluminum. It's fantastic, and got high hopes for this. This is really cool. I think this is
Uh,
really cool, man.
yeah, so it's like around
Yeah,
$459
right in my
US.
face. Yeah.
In February, they're going to be releasing a color e-ink version of this. Um, Prices and stuff like aren't really sort of known, but
Yeah.
they are going to be using Kaleido 2. So this is like the second generation color e-ink. So that's, they're going to have this version for black and white for people who don't want color. And then sometime in February, they're going to be releasing the color version of this. It'll probably be like $100 or $150 more, but it's the same specs. Quad core, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's more than capable to be like your daily driver. It'll be interesting to see like how the color version. We're gonna obviously do a review and unboxing and everything like that, but we'll also be comparing the Hisense A7 versus the A7CC. So
Now, Mike, the A7CC that's coming out is using the second gen of Kaleido, right?
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, that is confirmed. Basically, the first line of Kaleido, whatever, that maxed out at 6 inches, but this is bigger than 6 inches, meaning They're not using the first gen anymore. This is not the color one, but the color one will be the same form factor. It'll be the same shell and everything. They'll just move a color array filter onto it, whether it's passive or powered. We don't know yet how they're going to actually approach it, but it is going to be the largest color consumer available product you can buy on the market, and it's going to be extremely capable. Someone just asked, Rob Hernandez, does it have a replaceable battery? No, it doesn't. And there are no Torx screws or access. So you can't service your device, which means you can't take out the screws and take out the screen and, you know, remove the ribbon cable and fiddle around with it. You can use a heat gun and pry off the screen, but we do not recommend that. Phones now are basically planned obsolescence, which means they're not really made to be serviced and repaired. That whole trend died about 2013. You buy a phone, it lasts a couple years, you buy something new. It's sad, it creates waste. It's just the world we live in, unfortunately, but it is true. So no replaceable batteries, nothing like that.
Okay, so this is something that a lot of people have been asking about for like a pretty long time.
Are you gonna say TCL?
Yeah.
Someone just asked about that. He
Yeah.
said, Mike, are you going to talk about, or I guess both of us, are you going to talk about TCL Next Paper? You did something on that. You did
Yeah.
a review. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
TCL announced a new sort of e-paper called Next Paper September 3rd, 2020. And they basically, you know, this has been like undergoing for like 3 or 4 years. They have like 11 patents on it and stuff like that. You know, it's received eye protection certifications and stuff like that from different laboratories and institutes and stuff like that. So when compared to traditional e-ink, TCL Next Paper has 25% thinner contrast for better viewing when compared to a typical LCD panel. TCL Next Paper is up to 36% thinner, creating a device that could be much slimmer and lighter. Then the technology is also 65% more power efficient, so the battery life will be preserved. So the refresh rate will be that of basically an LCD tablet. This is pretty well like, you know, there's been really no video of it showcasing what it's like all about. So it's basically going to be in a first commercial product. So,
and what we mean by that is we've seen it on event floors. We've seen it in concept form, like, you know, an open panel resting on a display table. It's never had a shell. It's never had craft. It's never have R&D behind it with buttons and USB ports. This is the first time we're going to actually have like a product in our hands that we could charge when it's out of batteries, that we can turn on when it's off. It's user capable, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like commanded from a computer port. So this is the first time we're going to see it in a real form.
Yeah, so I don't think that this like so I'll kind of show you the only
Screen
sort
share,
of the only thing that I have right now.
very limited info. People have been asking about it, but very limited, man. Not a lot of info on it. It's just going to be that one picture, isn't it? There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a Next Paper tablet. It's 8 inches. It'll be running Android 10, and it's going to be coming out like in April in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Latin America, and parts of Asia. It'll be about like $425. There's no release date for
Mike,
North America.
explain to people what you're looking at right there. Go up to the picture. Now, people are looking at that, and they're going to be thinking LCD LED. What is that? Why are we looking at it? Why is it in color? And why is it called paper?
Yeah, so basically it has like no backlight or front light. It depends like on environmental light. So it's like similarly to like the Hisense Q5, which was like a monochrome type screen that you really needed like you know, to have like light and stuff like that. There's really no details regarding the lighting system, but I do know that it doesn't have a front light or backlight. So it's going to be
like
dependent.
The Q5.
Yeah, except this is like, unlike the Q5, which was monochrome, this is full color.
That's color.
So it's going to be great for manga, like comic books, newspapers, magazines. Like it's going to be great. So here's what we know. It's going to have an 8-inch screen. It's
Yeah.
going to be running Android 10. It's going to be running a MediaTek Hilo processor. So I think that that's like a quad core processor. 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of internal storage, an SD card that's going to be capable of 256 gigs of storage.
That's pretty big.
For those of you that complain about a lot of devices not having it, this does have USB-C.
There it is.
It
SD
also,
card with USB, man.
yeah, so 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, but it also has Bluetooth.
And look at that battery.
Yeah, the battery is
5,500 milliamp is gigantic for electronics, man.
Yeah, so
That's big. Yeah.
we don't know if it has Google Play or not. It probably won't, but you never know, right?
Now, Mike, why is it called? Okay, now if you guys are thinking about the Hisense Q5 that's just come out again, re-released, it is not an e-ink device. It's monochrome LCD, which is considered RLCD, which is reflective. Why is this called paper? Are they using Kaleido? Are they using e-ink?
No, they're using like their own technology.
Right. So this is one of the first consumer products we're going to see with e-ink that didn't come from e-ink.
Yeah, I mean it's not e-ink. Like
no, but it's electronic.
Next paper is competing against e-ink now.
Right. But it's electronic paper is what it is basically.
Not really. It's like it's like an LCD tablet, but it's not totally an LCD tablet. Basically, you're getting all the performance of an LCD tablet, but it has a totally different screen technology, which is next paper. So unlike e-ink, which basically like slow refresh rate, you'll be, are you going to be able to watch fluid video on e-ink no matter what type of software trickery they do? No. But you can do that on an LCD tablet. You can watch video. Frame rate is not an issue on LCD, which is why people do everything on their phone. They run apps on their phone. They watch YouTube on their phone, or they do it on their tablet. So this is like a tablet that will give you LCD type quality experience. So you can do anything that you would do on your phone or whatever, except there's no like lighting system like on it, as far as I know. So that's basically like the premise of next paper is that it's, it's a different type of technology, but like TCL is very cagey with this. Like they're not divulging like a white paper outlining what the tech can do. They had an announcement at IFA, and ever since then it's been completely dark. We haven't heard anything about the technology until CES, where they said, we're going to release a product that showcases next paper in April. So basically, for all of you that want to know more about the technology, I'm sorry, there's TCL's not divulging this. I mean, next paper is just a small part of like their business. TCL's like more interested in like making new 4K TVs that are like $300.
That's the same thing that Hisense is doing. People think that because we've made people aware internationally that Hisense is associated with phones. Not necessarily. It's a very small piece of their pie to be in the e-ink phone market, and they don't take it too seriously. It's mostly the general consumer electronics that they're focused on, like Mike said, 4K TV.
Yeah, I mean, Hisense has like 60 different phones that they've released, like with just typical flagship phones, but they primarily focus like on Asia and stuff like that. So they're not really well known outside of like China. So more people are familiar with like Asus or LG or a ton of other iPhones.
Typically, you won't find a Hisense product in like, a Rogers Wireless or like a Vodafone shop or like a Sprint Mobile. You won't really see them on the lineup, but they have been making phones for forever and a day, and they make some good stuff. They really do. And one of the only reasons, aside from us promoting it internationally, that they're so popular is because they're a Chinese brand that allows you to choose your language, which is more than I can say for a lot of manufacturers out there that will not allow you to choose a language. And Hisense doesn't restrict you to any ecosystem. You can use Google Chrome, you can use, Firefox, you can use whatever you want. So it's really just you craft it as your own, which is really nice. And it's refreshing to see that, because there's iReader and iFlyTech and Whiskey and all these companies we want to work with, but they're like, nope, you can't go outside of Baidu. It's like, so I can't type in www.google.com. They're like, no, you can't type in anything. You can only click on links. It accesses the internet, but you can't choose and tell it where to go. It's really weird.
Okay, so this is sort of like a little bit of extra info on what this TCL tablet. So there'll be no flickering. There's no blue light on it at all. So there's no light shining in your eyes. So the TCL Next Paper has some advantages over other types. TCL says that it reuses natural light for full color reproduction. It can then produce a 25% higher contrast rate than e-ink. It is also 65% more power efficient. So it basically will reuse light in order to illuminate the display.
Like the Pixel Qi or Pixel Qi did, and like the Q5 does it. Like the Kyobo did. It needs that light in order to create an image. Obviously, if there's no light, you're not gonna be able to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so little known, and right now, for example, what Mike's been telling you based on everything we know doesn't really fall into a category. It's not e-paper technically. It's not LCD because it's not using liquid crystal display. It's not RLCD. It's not Pixel Qi. What is it? It doesn't actually fall into any specific field at this point. We can just say it's a reflective type surface that offers no compromise when it comes to frame rate, which means you can watch videos. It won't have any problems.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. It looks like you're gonna get something ready for a screen share. You're all focused.
Sort of.
That's okay.
I was just updating my post with like more of the stuff
nice.
that I just said.
Mike, will it have a glass screen, like a glossy screen?
It has a glass screen. Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Now some anti-quasi-pseudo-sci-on asked, will it have a glossy screen? There are some devices like the Hisense, for example. If you see right there, if I can get a focus on that, these are webcams. They can't really choose focus. Anyways, this is using a glass screen. There we go. With a matte screen protector. So technically, the inherent screen on this device is e-ink, but it's not it's not a regular screen. It's actually a cell phone screen, like a glass screen with a digitizer, which means if you didn't have the screen protector on it, it would be as reflective as a piece of glass. I'm not even joking. You can see right there. I'll try to catch that again. Right there. It's glass. It's a flat piano black piece of glass. The only reason it looks all e-papery is because they put a matte screen protector on it. And the problem with e-ink phones right now is that there is so much in between your eyes and the actual e-ink screen. There's the e-ink screen, and then the digitizer, and then the glass screen, and then a screen protector. And for the color, there's a color array filter. So there's like a Big Mac sized layer of things in between your eyes and the actual viewing surface. And you will notice that if you put this up against the Kindle kind of looks better. Of course, this is way more capable, but the Kindle will look better to your eyes because it's just less things in the way. And it's true. That's like a fact.
So, yeah. So let's talk about something else. Yes.
You're like, dang it, that's the end.
Yeah, that's the end of it. So
that's the end.
What we want to kind of ask you guys, do you think Amazon or Kobo release a color device? Because we know of two different companies that are using Kaleido 2 that will be releasing new products in the next within the next month.
Really?
So we're gonna have larger than 6 larger than 6 inches. So think 6.8 to 10.3.
7.8s, 10.3s. There's a lot of screen sizes. Yeah.
So we know of 2 products for sure that are going to be released in the next month. And that's not even counting the Hisense A7CC. So, okay, here are some things that we know. So e-ink, basically for Kaleido 1, there was a bunch of Chinese companies that were early adopters.
Yeah.
This included Onyx Books. This included iFlyTech, iReader. Pocketbook does like all their manufacturing like in China. They were the first non-Chinese company to actually do
That's
something, but
true. They were key out. Yeah.
it was basically all Chinese companies, including Hisense, that
Right.
released the color e-ink phones, but
Yeah.
they did it like they manufactured them and released them in China. It just so happens that like other than the Hisense, the Pocketbook and the Onyx, so basically three brands out of the six were focusing not only on China but international markets too. Because like Onyx Books, like pretty well China first philosophy, but they also sell and have a distribution network with other countries, and they run Android, so you can use them in other markets. Pocketbooks the exact same way. They pretty well like focus on an international friendly crowd. So if you live in Croatia, if you live in Iceland, if you live in Brazil, if you live in Sudan, you can use these devices
That's
and
right.
use them in your own native language. Whereas the other three, iFlyTech, iReader, and so on, they pretty well just
No.
focused on China and
Yeah.
never had an English UI. So they were pretty well locked into specific ecosystems. So that was the first generation. Those were the companies that took the risk on the first generation
Right.
Kaleido. So Ian Kaleido basically could produce around 4,000 colors at around 100 ppi.
Which
V
is small.
Yeah, V1 was basically for 5 to 6 inch screens, which is why we only saw phones and 6 inch e-readers. And e-ink basically 2.5 years of development before it was available. Um, Very quickly they were running into production issues for color screens. They couldn't meet the demand. They never anticipated that modern day color e-paper would be embraced by an eager public, because um, in 2000 and like 10 to about 2012 they tried color e-paper. It just really sucked. It didn't really do very many colors. It was using, at the time, it was using like e-ink Visplex and e-ink Curl, which was notorious for ghosting. It
Yeah.
was notorious for refresh issues, was notorious for just poor performance. Like, we take for granted that e-readers these days have 300 ppi screens. 10 years ago, it was like half of that or
Yeah.
less. So we've come a long way. And e-ink basically was just like, let's try color again. And it just took off. So they basically had one factory in China producing e-ink color filter array panels. And so your typical e-reader, like these days, has a glass-based display, has an e-paper like layer, and has LEDs at the bottom that are projecting like light up. And then it
Yeah.
has like, all the components and stuff. So it's the between you and the e-paper, there's just a layer of glass, and that's it. With the color filter array, it's basically just another layer on top of the e-ink paper.
Hmm.
So it's very easy to produce. Think of it as just like a thin film that you're
It
putting
is
on
just a
top of the
film with a
e-paper.
bunch of color squares on it. That's right.
Right. So to produce them, you got to like outfit the factory for them to do it. So basically, they were doing one factory in China, and then they opened up like another. So e-ink deals with a few different factories to produce like the actual e-paper displays in various sizes. So they allocated part of a second factory in China to produce even more color filter arrays, so they wouldn't run into the shortfalls. Now that they have e-ink Kaleido 2, they got a third factory that's actually in the US. It's in Boston, in a place called Hanover. So they have like a factory in the US that's just devoted to the color filter arrays for Kaleido 2. So what are the differences between Kaleido 1 and Kaleido 2? E-ink hasn't released like the final specs yet for Kaleido 2. So Kaleido 1 basically small screens, 100 ppi max. The color filter array really couldn't be turned off, so the color was always on at the same time. Now there were some drawbacks. particularly grayscale uniformity. So if you have like a traditional Kindle, or if you have a Kobo or a Nook or a Tolino or something like that, you know that the black text on a gray screen, the gray is like pretty well uniform. It's just like it's a gray screen, and you have black razor crisp text. With the e-ink Toledo 1, it wasn't a uniform gray screen. It was almost like gradients of gray. So
it was trying to use color to create gray.
that's right. And
It
color
looked terrible.
producing gray, it's you can't really do it because gray is not really a color combination. Just like black and white aren't really color combinations. They aren't in nature. They aren't in rainbows. They
No,
aren't in anything. Because like you can't produce two different colors to
no.
do black or white.
Yeah, white is the absence of color, and black is like every single color all at the same time or something. Yeah, but they're not technically like colors, so you can't make green. Didn't look that good.
Yeah. So basically, like because the color filter array was always on and always producing colors, it really made looking at PDFs, manga, other things, you were seeing it really at technically 100 PPI. The only things that you were seeing at truly 300 PPI is if you were just reading a typical ebook, just black and white text, but the gray background was trying to produce gray with color variants. So Ink Clio 2 basically solved the gray background problem, has like the better a better color gamut, but they never really said if the colors will still be 4,000 or if they're going to be increasing it. They never really said is the PPI of color still going to be at
It
100
would
or not.
have to, man.
It,
You got to go bigger than 100
yeah,
because
I
look,
mean,
look at right now. 100 barely scrapes the 6-inch level. If you're going to 10.3, you're basically taking a really small photograph and you're zooming into something that should have 300 PPI, which means it's going to be pretty blurry, man, especially because the fact that we don't know, but you probably can't turn that off. It's going to be a blurry experience on a big device. So I sure hope it's bigger than 100.
yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to scale. So, like on a 6-inch screen, you'll be able to see color at 100 PPI. But if you're using a
Right.
10.3-inch, it'll go beyond it. So the actual PPI, the color, totally unknown with the second
Everything's
generation.
unknown right now. It's
The
so
amount
up in
of
the air.
the amount of colors they'll be able to generate are totally unknown. Like e-ink has refused to tell me. They're basically like, no comment. We're not going to share
Nothing.
trade secrets. It's basically it's not until a few companies actually release Clito 2 products
Yeah.
that will actually be able to ask those companies and ask their engineering team the questions that e-ink won't tell us. And that's generally how I found out about most of the technical specs about Clito 1. E-ink just refused to tell me. I had to actually talk to Pocketbook. I actually had to talk to Onyx. I had to talk to iReader, iFlyTech, HiSense. I had to actually talk to their engineers to find out what exactly is the underlying technology, because e-ink, I'm a journalist, right? E-ink doesn't want to tell me and share this type of stuff with like me, because like they don't want like someone else to reverse engineer it, or TCL or another company or Clearing to like use some of like their tech into like other products. I don't know. E-ink's just effed. So basically, we do know that e-ink Clio 2 will be able to add more colors, better contrast, better grayscale uniformity, better support for frontlit displays, and it'll work on better screens. So things are looking good. So what makes, do you think Kobo or Amazon will be able to release color Kindles? Well, I think the possibility is good because, think about it. It's Chinese companies pretty well that took the risk with the first generation tech. Pocketbooks sold so many pocketbook colors that they were out of stock on numerous occasions and they had to go back to the factory and produce more.
Onyx had an initial run that they did a test run in Russia, sold out in a day, then did another run a couple months later, sold out in a month. allocated all of their vendors, including us, a certain amount of units. We bought 100, and we were like, "There's 100 left, everyone." And they're like, "Yeah, it's fine. No, color's here to stay." No, man, that was like a one and done. Like they were out of stock. The color was so well received, at least this round, that people were resorting that even the pocketbook was sold out and the Onyx was sold out. People started buying the iFlyTech and iReader from us. And to no discredit to those companies, but at the same point, you can't go on the web, you can't sideload in apps, it's Chinese only. People were like, I want color, everyone's sold out. So we're like, we have the iFlyTech, they're like sold. So we sold people the iFlyTechs, the iReaders, to a lesser extent, Hisense phones, because people wanted to get their hands on them, people and companies alike. And companies order from us weekly. We always send to different labs down in California and in Massachusetts and stuff like that. So people really wanted to get their hands on it.
Right. So with the first generation of color being so well received, this is why e-ink solved a lot of the bugs that actually I pointed out in a very comprehensive post about that we have on our website.
Yeah.
It's something along the lines of color e-paper and e-ink Toledo have severe limitations. And we actually have 6 or 7 pictures of e-readers. Let me just show you guys, just so you can see what I'm talking about here. So you can see here that we have a pocketbook, like a black and white,
yes.
And then we have a color screen. And you can see that the resolution on the black and white picture is just so much better.
This is
than the
what we're
resolution
talking
here.
about. Yeah.
So
you put a glass screen, you put other things in the way, you just they literally get in the way. Look at that Kindle. Look, that's what we're talking about. Look at the Kindle, and then look at that gray, not abomination, but look at that gray iFlyTech. Look at that. They're the same size screen. The bezel's just bigger on the Kindle. So but look how dark it is.
Yeah. So when I talked about grayscale uniformity on a Kindle, you could see that this is perfectly gray. It's a nice light gray. The text pops. Whereas on here, the background is a darker gray, and you can see how the text is not as razor sharp. Another example is 2 different color screens, just to show you the distinction between the different lighting technologies.
It still looks good on the it still looks good with nothing in the way. When you put that layer in the way, like the iFlyTech has on the left, you just it fuzzes it out. You see it right there? It's all like opaque and fuzzy.
It's because they use the glass space.
That's
screen,
right. It's flush. Yeah, it's flush screen and bezel. The iReader is exposed screen. That's right.
Yeah. So the reason why the e-reader on the right here looks better is because there's no layer of glass between the color filter array and the screen. So you can see how it looks way better. Whereas if you have a layer of glass here, it becomes more muddled. So here we have 2 color e-readers. On the left one, the light is on.
Yeah.
On the right, the light is off. So you can see when you have a frontlit display on, still it looks a little bit muddled when you look at something with a flush screen and bezel with the layer of glass.
That's right.
And then we have color e-ink on the left. And then we have so this is it with the frontlit display. So this is just a normal pocketbook, and this is a normal a color e-reader. So you can see on the text on the normal e-reader, black is very pronounced. Here it's not totally black. You can see that with the front lights basically both on, you can see that the background here is more blue and this is white. So this is the problems with the Toledo technology with the Gen 1. So basically, e-ink wants to make for the Gen 2 Toledo it to look like this on the right-hand side, but color. That's right. That's what they want to do with the picture of the pocketbook here. They want the picture on the right here to be in color and to have that good resolution.
Yeah.
With the Kindle here, they pretty well want to do the same thing. They, Amazon has had dev kits of the Toledo 1, and they've had dev kits of the Toledo 2. They also have dev kits of the 2nd generation advanced color e-paper, which we'll talk about in a moment. But, I want to ask chat, with everything that I just outlined about the limitations of e-ink Toledo 1 and that being solved in Toledo 2, do you think that like a company like Amazon or Kobo will actually take a risk now that the technology is like a couple of years old, it's been refined, a lot of the bugs in the first gen have been solved with the second gen. Is it time for color e-ink to actually go prime time with a much larger company? This is something I
Someone,
want to ask you.
Rod Hernandez, 10 minutes ago when you asked the question, said the same thing I said last week, is Amazon is not into experimenting. They rather stick to proven tech. And that's absolutely true. If you look at the entire history of Amazon in terms of their e-readers, not anything else, they're reactionary. They only do what they know works. Barnes & Noble did glow light first. Sony did e-readers first. Amazon did e-readers. Barnes & Noble did glow lights first, then they did that. Other companies did audio, then they did that. They don't innovate when it comes to e-readers. And you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've done history videos on color e-ink, which I actually just updated both the chat and the description. If you guys want to see the color e-ink, we have a nice piece that was a joint effort on YouTube there. But no, man, Amazon, I don't think they innovate. They don't trailblaze. They follow the trail, and they usually do it better. If you think of e-readers, chances are you think of the Kindle. It's the greatest selling e-reader of all time. I personally don't think they're going to do color this year. Just look at the last couple gens of Oasis. It barely changed from 1 to 2. And it didn't change at all from 2 to 3. They put a warm light and an optional gold color in one market only. That does not warrant a full generation upgrade. I don't think they're going to do color. If they do, they're going to wait, just like you said, Mike. They're going to wait for 2 or 3 people to do it first, then they'll do it. And they'll probably do it better. The color Kindle, dude, if they had a color Kindle with those words, the color Kindle, the Amazon color, it's going to destroy. It's going to absolutely destroy. But I personally don't think we're going to see one this year. With everything that's happening, the fact that color, is just getting going, there's a lot of bugs. No, we're not going to see it this year, is my personal opinion.
Okay, so I do have something secret I want to tell you guys.
If you're allowed to talk about it.
I haven't written about it yet,
Okay.
mainly because I'm trying to reach out to like every contact I have in the e-ink industry. So like manufacturers, the upstream supply chain, e-ink themselves. Nobody knows anything about it. So if you guys know, e-ink has, before the modern day e-reader came out with Toledo e-paper, there was something called advanced color e-paper, and this was something that was done for digital signage. Some of the the pros is that it displayed not 4,000 colors, it displayed 40,000 colors. It just, the things that it was geared towards was menus in full color, arriving plane flights, signage like art in galleries. We saw it in Japan where we did a video where some store was like advertising like a fall catalog. And
it was right at the entrance. You walk in, people walked by it. Millions of people a day in department stores walk by it. You would never know it's e-paper. Someone told Mike relayed it to us. We went in, we're like that's it. And then we went in, we're like, oh, it is. We looked at the back, it's using a panel, and we confirmed that was color e-paper, and we broke the story, and we were the first ones to like film it in any sort of real capacity other than, Instagram stories and stuff like that you might see in Japan. But we were the guys that showed that. So
so
there's little things like that.
Basically, it came out about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And only for digital signage. The problem was the refresh rate was abysmal. So if you had multiple frames of color, it would literally take like 30 or 40 seconds for like a frame to do.
and it would flicker and flash, and it would go to complete blank, and then it would negative come up, which means the whites were black, the blacks were white, and then it would slowly fill in. We saw the same thing with SES Imago Tag. They're used to this day for the past 6 years. They're used to this day for signage. However, when they do need to refresh, ooh, it's not a pretty picture. When they finally develop, oh, it's great. You know, multiple colors, really crisp HD, but that refresh is just, they can't get a handle on it.
Okay, so the code name for advanced color e-paper, the one that came out 4 years ago, was called e-ink Gallery 4000. Now, sometime in the past 3 months, they've done a version 2 of advanced color e-paper. It's called Gallery 4100. Type e-ink Gallery 4100 in Google. Nothing shows up at all. E-ink will not tell me about its existence. They won't even confirm its existence. So what I found out is e-ink Gallery 2 will be used on e-readers in 2022. And they'll be able to offer 2 different variants for color e-paper: Kaleido, either 2 or the third generation, and advanced color e-paper 2. So basically, the only thing that I know is something that e-ink actually inadvertently divulged to me by having me on a multiple person like thing, where I guess they actually included like the wrong Michael.
What a mistake. If
Yeah.
someone, you know, if someone were to do that, they're just completely wrong, Michael. And I think in Caucasian cultures, people that have the ability to name their son Michael, Michael is one of the most common names, I think, in like any, like, you know, white person country. Because like America, I think there's more Michaels than any other name, maybe John. But there was actually this funny comedy thing on YouTube. It was all about, there's too many Michaels, like famous Michaels, not famous Michaels, you know, like scientists is like, there's too many, don't name your kids Michael. It's funny. You got a good name, man. My dad's name is Michael as well, but you know what I mean, there's a lot. Like, I mean, right even there, my, you know, one of the heads of Good E-Reader, my dad, like, you know, my brother's middle name is just Michael. It's crazy, but yeah, it's pretty common name.
Okay, so all I know is that with the e-ink Gallery 4100, which is basically advanced color e-paper 2. So this technology exists, and it's been optimized for e-ink, like for, you know, it's basically it's not a color filter array. It basically is a different type of e-ink screen that will, you know, so basically with Kaleido, it's a sheet of paper. Advanced color e-paper will replace e-ink, the actual e-paper screen. So instead of like e-ink Carta HD or anything like that, it will be a totally different screen. So e-ink has gotten, or the screen has received e-ink Regal waveforms. Now, for those of you that don't know a lot about Regal waveforms, if you remember like 10 years ago, if you followed e-paper, or like you had like an early e-reader, you noticed that like ghosting was a big problem. When you turned like pages of the screen, it was like really slow. E-readers like were really slow and sluggish. It wasn't really until e-ink developed waveform controllers that actually like changed the voltages, that solved ghosting. Page turns were really fast. So if you look at an e-reader that was made in the last couple of years and an e-reader that was made 10 years ago, it's just like a light years of difference, because some of like the way that the underlying like waveform controllers actually control the positive and negative charges to be able to like have them just occur quicker. Like, because like e-ink fundamentally is just like positively and negatively charged white and black particles that are floating like in like a, you know, like a little thing of water, basically.
Just like that.
Nice.
I took a picture with the e-ink phone.
And so, yeah, basically this advanced color e-paper 2 will be able to have a higher refresh rate because it's using the e-ink Regal waveform controllers. So what I found out is e-ink is secretly sending out development kits for the advanced e-paper 2 or e-ink Gallery 4100 to all the big companies. So Amazon, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, Onyx Books, Pocketbook, the who's who of the e-reader industry has already received kits along with the actual e-paper like screen, along with like the logic board, so they could like just basically demonstrate it. They could like load the Kindle software onto like the board. They could like load in the Kobo software onto the board. They could, the engineers could basically load in the same OS as they use on their e-readers, sort of on an exposed board with a screen, and like hook up like USB-C ports and everything like that. So if you've never seen development kits, it's basically the screen and then like a logic board, and that has like the processor, the RAM, the internal memory, and everything like that. And you just like plug the board in to like it to be powered, and it allows companies to be able to do internal testing with like the bare bones of hardware in order for that to happen. So I'm excited about this because, say Kaleido 2 could do double the colors, say from 4,000 to 8,000. Advanced Color e-paper 2 could do 40,000 colors, and it is a new type of e-paper technology.
Yeah.
If e-ink has truly solved the refresh issues, this is going to be a game changer, because it's just going to display so many colors that it's going to like totally disrupt the e-reader industry. Like within a few years, if you're not doing a color e-reader, like you're going to be a dinosaur. So I'm going to be writing a piece on this. It's just like, other than just like a few emails that I've been inadvertently sent it, I have like no, like, Ink Gallery 4100, Advanced Color e-paper 2, there's like nothing on Google at all. I just know of its existence and who the development kits have been sent to. So that's something that's like kind of cool tech that's I find interesting, that once it makes it into commercial products, this is going to be a game changer for sure.
It's going to be big. Yeah. There is a lot to expect for the next year, if not next year and a bit. We also have a lot of stuff that we're not allowed to talk about, but that was just stuff that we're not bound by NDA. NDA is basically non-disclosure agreement, which means if we sign something, we're not allowed to talk about it. Man, the things we've signed over the years, Mike, that are just whipping around in our minds, we're like just really want to say it, but no, we won't. Something else that came out is an in-house product actually we developed, and it was developed at Goody Reader Inc. Japan branch. And I believe Cornelius said something. We try to answer his questions as live as we can. Someone said like the controversial backlash we're facing on the product. I don't really know what they're referring to. We released an Wacom an e-Raser, we're calling it's a Wacom e-Raser for EMR enabled devices. You basically can use it on anything. It works on Onyx, it works on Boyu, it works on Supernote, it works on Remarkable, MobiScribe, KingJim, Xiaomi, iReader, the iFlyTech, the list goes on. There's like 10 manufacturers it works with. It Blanket works with anything. You don't have to replace the tip. You get feedback action. It's made completely in Japan out of high quality materials. Some people said, "Oh, I don't like the size and everything," but that's totally fair. I mean, we obviously some people will like what it looks like, some people won't. And it is available on our store now. And some people were asking, is it selling and everything? Is it for sale? Without showing customer data, we're selling it. We launched it last night and we've been selling it. It's actually on sale right now for $39.99, and it will go back up in a month or so. That's usually to the stores team that dictates the price of everything, but yeah, I think it's really cool. It was our production team did a really good job on producing it. We have everything kind of ready to go in like retail boxes. It has like all the information that's required around it, what's included. You get the actual unit, you get like a data card, and you get a sticker as well. So yeah, it's really cool because there aren't any products like this on the market right now. And if you look at the stylus selection that's on the market, I think when I was talking to you about it, Mike, there's like 10 different styluses that don't have erasers. The stock stylus from Remarkable, any Supernote pen, the Xiaomi pen, the iReader pen, the iFlyTech pen. There's tons of pens that have
more styluses than not
Yeah.
don't have an eraser on it.
More of them, like the basic Stadler, the Mitsubishi, I could just go on forever. Most of them don't have erasers, and when they do, you got to spend like $100 US for like a Remarkable 2 stylus. You have to spend like $110 for a Lamy pen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we actually had some brainstorming back in, I think, September, when we came up with the idea that we should make an all-in-one device, and it doesn't need charging, it doesn't need batteries, and it's complete fitted form factor. It's all done, and it's in one simple casing. It's really small compared to an actual stylus, and yeah, it's completely usable across all platforms. And I don't I yeah, Cornelius said there was a low like to dislike ratio. Yeah, that's totally fine. Not everyone's going to like what you do online. For example, we just got this sample from a company called Watchy, and they made this watch that is an exposed circuit board. I don't particularly think that was a good idea. So yeah, people are always going to make things that people don't agree with, and that's just one opinion of a couple of people on YouTube. So I think this is we've had really strong sales on day one launch. Michael did a cross post news article. We had our guys do a subscriber list MailChimp blast. We did a couple promo videos. It's been a great success. So if you guys did want to get one, it's just a little fun piece of digital stationery, and it comes in a nice compiled box. It's really lightweight. It's easy to ship. There's no batteries, so it doesn't cost you any exorbitant, dangerous goods or luxury tax or anything. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, it's selling well. And I think we launched this morning 8 a.m. New York time. So yeah, man, it's been 12 hours and it's been really strong. So I think it's really cool. Really, really good idea on all of our parts.
Yeah, I mean, we've released a few different styluses like over the years.
That's right.
That's been tremendously well received. And we just wanted to come up with like a product that just like fills a void. There's more styluses than not that don't have an eraser. So if you want to erase something, you have to actually select, and so say you have like a pen with no eraser. You
Right here.
typically have to like click on like the eraser function, like on the
Yep.
UI of your note-taking app, and then press on the stylus and like delete something by pressing hard, right?
That's
And
right.
so what that does is most styluses, the nibs wear down and you have to buy replacements. So replacement nibs generally like around $29 to $59. It depends on like who you're buying. Like Remarkable nibs cost
Remarkable nibs are
more.
expensive, man. They're like 40 something USD. Yeah.
Yeah. So all nibs like range in price from like let's say $19 to like $59. And so if your stylus doesn't have an eraser, this means that your nibs are paying double duty to not only write and interact with the device, but to also be used to erase. And so, buying a dedicated eraser would actually save you money in the long run because you're not using a stylus like to erase things. So the amount of nibs that you're buying every 6 months or every year would more than make up for the outlay of like however much it costs to like buy the eraser. So the more people that buy this, like the more that we'll develop a Gen 2 of it that'll be, more streamlined. We'll use whatever money that we get from the sales to do a V2 of this and listen to the feedback and go back to the drawing board and do it. But if we sell 5 units or 100 units or something like that, it's not really considered to be a success. So you may not totally like the design, and that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
For some, we basically did something that didn't exist. There's no
No
dedicated Wacom erasers on the market. So we had basically nothing to go on in terms of like, all right, let's copy what Apple did, or let's copy what these guys did. There's no one to copy from. It's like we had to basically just say, okay, this is the stuff that we have accessible that we can use for like the industrial design, and let's just do our best to do something cool. So buying it supports us, and helps us out and things like that. And the more people that buy the first gen would allow us to create a second gen product or a third gen.
Yeah, like with our and you know, we've been selling this one for a couple years, so the secrets are out. When we developed our own in-house stylus, we didn't want any eraser on the back, so we went with a company that had white label shells, and we said, this shell works, this shell works. Can we get this one with like something, et cetera, et cetera? So we made the Goody Reader Premium Stylus, which works blanket across everything, including like HP Touchpad, Lenovo, et cetera. And we utilized that tech and we made our own stylus. We've been selling it for a couple years now. But yeah, when it came to this, there was no one to outsource to. There was nobody. So we actually had to hire a company in Japan to make it for us because we're like, okay, so like there's no, yeah. And like Mike said, this product isn't, it doesn't fall under a category because there isn't anything out there. If there was a pen, we had options. We're like, okay, this company makes shells. This company makes EMR. This company makes Wacom. But with this, like he said, we had nothing to go off of. So we're like, we're brainstorming for months and we were like, we just got to hire a company and we have to see what kind of fittings they have, what kind of shells they have. And then we got tech that, you know, we had sourced from EMR and Wacom sources. And then we sent it to them and then they sent it back and they said, what about this? And we're like, no, it's too big. So we sent it back and they sent it back and we're like, hey, this is getting better. So needless to say, after a lot of back and forth, we finally decided on a design. It was readily available. They had the ability to create it in semi-bulk. And now we're not talking about millions of units, of course. We're talking about sub 100 to start. So we had a run of sub 100s. We have official boxes and like, you know, art designed and stuff like that and little stickers and whatnot. And yeah, we have our info cards. Actually, we just got a stack of info cards that are all done. So it outlines the device itself, no batteries, no charging required, and the info card itself on how to use it. You basically just start erasing. And we wanted it to be as simple as possible. We just like wiped everything off the table, and Mike and I were just like, no, man, we don't want buttons. We don't want a USB port. This has got to work. So yeah, if you saw from our little promo video, we swiped it across like the new King Gym, even like 2020 King Gym. It works. The Moby Scribe, the Onyx, the Remarkable, you know, the Remarkable One. It's just swipe, 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 swipe. And we're like, this is the tech that works. Gonna go back to the company and get them to like build a couple protos. We did in-house on the boxes and the art and stuff. And there we go. It's a product that is out there. So you know, for $39 and the work we did and the fact that we didn't outsource it to China, for example, which, you know, a lot of tech is produced, we don't make a whole lot on it. So, you know, purchasing it from us, like Mike says, does support us. It does support the channel. And yeah, we launched it this morning and we've had really good day one sales and we do appreciate everyone that's gotten in on it. So thank you all for supporting us and we love that. So it's on sale now and it ships same day. So yeah.
All right, I have nothing else to like report on.
Okay, bye. And then I bounce. No, okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit what's on the works for the video production side. We're gonna get the P10 review done there, Mike. We're gonna get the A7 review. And we got note from Supernote that they have up their production and they've actually discontinued the A5. A5 is gone. The A5X is taking its place and it's really cool. It's good form factor. It's got a little bit of Android in it. You can download Kindle and stuff like that. Has some integration with like Google Drive, etc. We'll show you all that. A5X is now for sale. We're allowed to sell that. They're opening up sales to their distributors and their partners. We are one included.
Oh so yeah, we launched like the A5X like last night.
That's right. That went alongside with the e-Raser. And that's funny because someone that is that bought the A5X actually contacted us and says, so you guys released an e-Raser, right? And we're like, yep. And they're like, Supernote doesn't have e-Rasers. We're like, no, not even on the Heart of Metal. They literally bought the e-Raser because Supernote doesn't have e-Rasers. So I'm not even joking. Like, yeah, it's been good reception overall. Some people on YouTube that aren't going to like the design. That's totally fine, but we're good by it. It's available now. A5X is available. We have a couple of things on the back burner, like all the big care package that Sony sent us. We're going to leave that till a little bit later because there's a lot of new stuff that's coming out. So we're going to get to everything as best we can.
Yeah. So if you guys are not okay, so this is what we have on Goody Reader YouTube, like in the next week. Supernote A5X review, Hisense A7 review, and the Boyu P10 review. So you're gonna see a ton of different reviews published within the next like 7 days or so. And then obviously reviews will be on the website as well. So if anybody has any questions, Now's the time.
And no questions. No, we've been answering questions as long as we've been hitting it. And I guess there is one question we neglected to ask. Do you think foldable e-readers will hit the market in the near future? Just to let you guys know, because I've seen this a couple times on chat, e-ink is already flexible. The actual technology that like e-ink is, disregard this pack of sticky notes, it's already flexible. That's never been the issue. The issue is when you slap it to a circuit board with batteries, you can move the e-ink part all day long. But when it comes to the flex cable, the ribbon cable that attaches, you can't move the batteries. And no company has outlined this better than Wexler. Wexler had 70% of its device was fully flexible, and the other 30 were the batteries, the gyroscope, the accelerometer, all the stuff that isn't flexible. It's not flexible. You can't get a circuit board and just bend it in half. There's no way. So we have seen some devices that have like everything jam packed into the bezel, and the majority of it is flexible, but nothing in its consumer form. So no, sorry to answer that question. Pop the bubble there.
Yeah, we're not going to see flexible, like totally flexible e-readers for a number of years.
The only guys working on it is the guys Mike's in talks with on the weekly, which is the e-ink Tokyo R&D lab. They've been sending us a lot of exclusive videos. We've gone into Tokyo to review some videos, and that's the only thing. We have 2 or 3 videos on YouTube about it. If you guys want to see it, head over to our YouTube page. It's there, but no, nothing like you can go into like a Best Buy and just grab it and go, yeah. No, there's nothing that's going to be flexible like that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that we've seen kind of close to that was the Entourage Edge, which actually opened and closed like a real book, but it had like, basically the screens weren't flexible, but it was like a dual screen LCD on one side, e-ink on the other side. So it opened and closed like a real book. I'd like to see more products with dual screens that open and close.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
I don't know. I think if you look at it like a hardcover or a paperback, it's 2 pages, a 2-page spread that you're looking at. A traditional e-reader just shows you 1 page. So if you grew up reading novels with a 2-page spread, and you're reading it on a single page, it takes a while to get into it, which is why like a lot of people don't like e-readers, is because they find it's like too weird of an adjustment to go from reading a textbook that's 2 pages, a magazine that's 2 pages, a newspaper that's 2 pages. Every type of content that you could imagine, its real form is a 2-page spread. So a 2-page e-reader, like a 2-screen e-reader, would make the most sense because it doesn't break immersion. It doesn't like fundamentally like change how you're consuming media, whether you're juggling a paper book or like a 2-page e-reader. So yeah, I think 2-page like devices, very underrated. Just like all the 2-pagers that are on the market now are just devoted to like sheet music.
You know what you could do though, Mike? You could buy a $1,300 Guido and load in PDF ebooks. Boom, you got 26 inches of e-reader there, man. You're like swipe and you're like, yeah, this is totally worth the money.
Yeah, I'm not spending $2,100 for that.
And it's super worth the money if you are a musician and you're like really into it and you got expensive, $10,000 plus instruments, you have something on there, that's not a problem. But no, you don't want to grab that. You spend like, $2,000 and just read books. It's not a possibility. But yeah, there's nothing on the market that will fit that in this here and now. But who knows, anything could pop up. So, stay tuned to basically us where we break all these stories. Look what Mike's giving you just today. I mean, just today we've heard about this thing that I didn't even hear about. The thing you just told us, like, I didn't even hear about that. And a new in-house product that no one knew about except, a couple new subscribers this morning and people that checked out the YouTube channel. So we break stuff all the time. I break things around the office all the time. We break stories all the time. That's the way we do it. So
I break stuff all the time. It's because like I'm a klutz and I always like drop things and they break. Or
you did ask the promo team to you're like, can I have a mug? And we're like, okay, send Mike to Vancouver a good e-reader mug. And then remember, you're like, maybe send two just in case you break one. And that's fair because it could be broken in shipping, or when you grab it you're like, whoa. But yeah, it
That
is good
happens
to
to
have a
me a
backup.
lot. It's
Yeah.
like I'm like, look over there, and I actually like
Where,
knock a coffee table, like knock a mug off the table and shatters like on the ground. I'm like, that's my favorite mug.
oh
So yeah, that
no.
shit happens to me all the time. So sorry,
Yeah,
I'm just a klutz.
it's all good. Yeah,
Uh,
so a lot of good stuff today we covered, and we're all wrapped up. So unless you have any quick bits, otherwise we'll just close the
no,
doors.
I've closed. I've pretty basically
Yeah,
I've talked about a lot.
yeah,
So
you did.
um,
We'll
we
leave it up to
appreciate
you guys. Yeah,
everyone stopping by
yeah.
for the chat and asking questions. Of course, you could rewind this at any time and listen to the VOD on demand. And a lot of this show is pretty technical type stuff.
It was
So
technical. We're sorry, guys. Yeah.
it's with new technologies, in order to really explain it properly, I have to be a little technical because there's no pictures. I'd love to just be like, show you visual specs or visual pictures. That's why when we talk about things, I try to show you what we're
Yeah.
talking about with screen sharing, just to kind of give you a sense on like
It's hard
what
when we have
with
one photo.
abstracts. Yeah, with
Yeah.
with underlying technology, there's no details. I mean, gallery 4100, there's like nothing that even appears on Google, so I have nothing to talk to you. Like, I can't explain that.
We'll get more on that when we can. Let's summarize. The TCL Next paper does not fall under any category. The Good e-Reader e-Raser works on all devices, and Boyu is not using Wacom. They're using their own stylus that touches on the screen. And the A7 is the biggest e-ink smartphone on the market, and it will have color in a month. I hope that breaks down the barriers of being too technical, but e-readers are not simple. They seem simple, but they're pretty technical. When we found out that stylus thing, it did blow our minds because it doesn't fit the MO of
It's
makers.
non-conventional.
No,
Like
and to you guys, it's like, oh, whatever, note taking is note taking. I touch it, sure, but to us, that we're in the e-reader scope, that is huge. TCL Next paper, that's huge. Would you say Galaxy 4100, Gallery 4100? That's huge. That's big stuff, and I hope that's why you guys are here. So thank you guys for joining us, and I see a lot of you guys every single week. We appreciate that. Queen, Darren, Ace of Base, Susie, everyone else we've talked to, Fernando. You guys make this happen, and this isn't huge, but the VOD usually is a little bit better, but we appreciate your time either way.
Yeah, so every Saturday we broadcast at 5 p.m. Pacific,
That's
8
right.
p.m. Eastern. So you can join in on the fun and listen to us rant and rave about e-readers and underlying technology. So for GiddyBeater.com, my normal A. Michael.
And I'm Peter.